Hey, I'll just start.
Oh my gosh, there are so many myths about exercise, it's hard to know where to start. One myth is that our ancestors were really incredibly strong, that there's a trade-off between speed and strength, that it's normal to be less physically active as you get older, that there's a perfect type of exercise, perfect amount of exercise. It's become really clear to me that a lot of people are exercised about exercise. And so I wanted to write a book to try to debunk a lot of myths about physical activity and about exercise using the lenses of evolution and anthropology.
This is the Big Think YouTube channel. They have a variety of topics. I'll link them in the bio for you.
If there's any one physical activity that humans evolved to do, it's to walk. Walking is the most fundamental, basic form of human physical activity. The average sort of hunter-gatherer will take 10, 15,000 steps a day. The average American before the pandemic was taking something like 4,700 and something steps a day. Only about 20% of Americans get the very minimum levels of exercise that every health organization in the world thinks is the minimum for an adult, which is 150 minutes a week. So 80% of us really struggle and fail to get the very basic amounts of exercise, but almost everyone says that they want to get enough exercise.
A bit of a tangent, but many cities in the US don't have very good public transit options, yet almost require the use of a car. Some people's commutes are way too far for them to walk or ride a bike to their destination and still get to where they need to be on time. So some people wake up, you get dressed, get in the car, drive to work. I think it's over 80% of Americans sit down while working. You finish up there, then you get back in the car, and then on an average day, you may just drive home. So I think that focus on automobiles is contributing to the lack of basic exercise. And yes, you'd still be stationary in a metro, a train, or a bus, but at least more people would have to walk to get to the station. Let me know if your city has good public transit options, wherever you are in the world.
We live in a world where we no longer have to be physically active. We now, in a very strange way, have to choose to be physically active. And that's not so easy, because there were no ellipticals and other kinds of machines back in the Stone Age. If you want to get your heart rate up, you probably were running. And one of the biggest myths about running is that it'll destroy your knees. There's tons and tons of studies, more than a dozen randomized, controlled, prospective, gold standard studies which show that people who run more are not more likely to get arthritis. In fact, lots of research shows that physical activities like running actually cause your joints to repair themselves and to stay healthy. The other kinds of running injuries, I think that a lot of them are caused because we don't learn how to run properly anymore. I think running is a skill, like swimming or throwing or all kinds of other things that we do. And the other thing is that when people run in other cultures, especially in the Stone Age, they didn't run every day and they weren't running on a regular basis. They'd probably go running maybe once a week or something like that. So the idea that you go running 5, 6 times a week for long distances on pavement, etc., these are all kind of weird, strange Western things. There's nothing necessarily wrong with them, but you have to learn how to do it properly, and you have to build up enough strength and learn the skills of running. But let's not scare people off running.
Personally, I'm not scared of running. I just don't like running. I do exercise every day, but I much rather jump rope or cycle or some body weight exercise. You? But then again, maybe I'm just not running properly. So after this, maybe I'll watch a tutorial and get back to you on that.
I think the most pernicious, the most serious, the most problematic, the most concerning way in which we think about exercise in the Western world is that as people get older, it's kind of normal to be less physically active. Americans, as we get older, the strength declines rapidly. By the time people are in their 60s and 70s, they're pretty frail. But hunter-gatherers remain fairly physically active as they age because they're doing stuff. They have to lift things and carry things and do stuff that keep them strong. And the end result is that they maintain that strength, and that strength is important because one of the real serious, most pernicious issues of aging is a problem called sarcopenia. Sarco is flesh and penia is loss, so it's flesh loss. As people get older in the West, they tend to lose a lot of strength and power, and that makes basic tasks difficult. And when that happens, people become less active. When they become less active, they become less fit, and it kind of sets in motion a really disastrous, vicious cycle. As we get older, strength training becomes more and more important so that we can avoid those losses of vigor that are really important to maintaining your health and staying strong and staying healthy as we age. We're a unique species. We evolved to live long after we stop reproducing. We often think about effects of physical activity on lifespan, how long you live. Before modern medicine, what determined how long you lived was actually how long you were healthy, your health span. And so health span is really the key thing. And what physical activity does is it increases your health span. And your health span, therefore, increases your lifespan. So as we get older, let's not cut back on the physical activity. Let's maintain it. Do some strength, do some endurance. The evidence is incontrovertible. There's tons of data which show that as we get older, the more physical activity is really beneficial. And other studies have found the same thing, that physical activity as you get older is more important, not less important, for preserving your health.
I like the concept of health span enlarging the lifespan. And what he didn't touch on is the benefits that exercise has on one's mental health. There have been studies that have found that exercise helps the brain cope better with stress. And there's one study that found that 25% of people who exercise regularly were less likely to get depression and anxiety disorders. I actually said that wrong. The study found that people who exercise regularly were 25% less likely to have depression or anxiety disorders. So I don't think exercise is rooted in fat phobia, although that's a growing narrative amongst a certain subset of the population right now. Nor is it because a beauty standard is forcing people to have six-packs. It's just a net positive habit. And you don't necessarily have to spend money or pay to be fit. There are many exercises that people can do at home with no equipment. Personally, I don't use any equipment. I'll actually look for a at-home fitness YouTuber and link some easy exercises down in the bio if you're interested. But if you're for some reason against exercise, let me know why. And if you do like to exercise, what's your go-to? Anyway, for today's literary recommendation, while he was speaking, I was thinking of the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. If you're not familiar with him, he's a former Navy SEAL officer, a current podcaster, and just an all-around motivational person in a non-cheesy way. But his book explores the idea of how discipline equals freedom and taking personal responsibility for our tasks, and that includes with our bodies. That's one of those rare books I read twice, so if I can find a free audiobook version here on YouTube, I'll link it in the bio, and if not, I'll link you the title. But that's all I have to say. So let me know what you think about any of this, and as always, thanks for watching with me.